Hey guys, it's me, Medic, Master Procrastinator here. This will make sense later in the video. If you were looking to set up a Genesis server and you're just looking for like the map name or what to change it to, since a lot of the default stuff you find calls the map the island and you're trying to change it to Genesis, you just have to change the island to Genesis. Initially, when it was first coming out, we weren't sure if it was going to be like Genesis underscore P or something, because some of the other maps had a different name with it than other than just what the DLC name was. So change the island to Genesis, and then you launch your server. It'll launch Genesis. I'll have an entire batch file down below on what to launch it to launch Genesis. In this video, a lot of the stuff I'm going to show or reference is going to say the island, because I had to set up my server before I knew what it was going to be called. And then as soon as we got it up, we got it all running, and then I procrastinated for like a week. So I'm going to put this right in the beginning so that you just know. My cat is doing stuff in the background, and then hopefully the rest of the video will make sense and you will find it useful if you were having trouble setting up your own Ark server, your own Genesis server. Thanks for bobbing in, and enjoy the actual video. Also, if you like my Minecraft shirt, check the links down below to find out how to get your own. Till then, enjoy the video. What's up, guys? It's me, Medic. I had a few people ask me about our Ark servers and if we're setting up a Genesis server, and we run a bunch of Ark servers in our community, and obviously Genesis is the new DLC coming out, and so we're certainly going to add it. And then I've had a few people express some interest on me showing them how I set up our servers or how to set up Ark servers. So I decided that since I'm going to do this today, I might as well record it. I can show you guys how we set up our servers and how to set up a Genesis server, kind of as I learned, because I'm still waiting for the patch notes. It's actually 7:05 right now. It's supposed to release 5 minutes ago. Still haven't found any patch notes or anything. So I don't even know what the map ID is going to be called. But since I've got to do all this stuff anyway, I figured I'll record it. I'll edit the video and I'll let you guys kind of see how I do it. And we'll just figure out the I'm waiting for the map name, and I'll explain that a little bit. But since I'm going to set up a server, I figured I would show you guys how I set up mine. And if you have any questions, shoot me a message or something, I guess. Let me get this camera out of the way. This is probably not going to be as good as many of my other YouTube videos. This will be more of, I guess, maybe of my live stream style where I talk a lot, so you may have to do some skipping and whatnot because I don't know how much editing I'm going to do on this. But so one of the first things we do, I will put links down below in the description. We need to download Steam CMD, and then we need to extract that. Okay, some of my editing may be a little jumbled now. I don't know, I'm having an issue. I think the issue was how I set up Steam CMD, so I'm going to put this where it belongs in the video, but something later on maybe seemed weird or something, and just ignore it. But Steam CMD, we're going to create a folder, and we're going to call this Steam CMD. And then what we need to do is extract this, and we're going to put it into the Steam CMD folder. Run it, let it download all of the information. My phone keeps going off. I think everyone's letting me know the servers might be working or coming up or something. We're all waiting. This was something I think that I forgot to do, so that's why some things might be a little jumbled. All right, once we have Steam CMD installed, we can just close this now. And then what we will do is go back. Now we go to our server update, edit. Now we need to change for where the Steam CMD file is at, because it's going to look for that. So go like this. Ark Genesis Steam CMD, and then it's going to point to Steam CMD exe, and then I want to install to the Genesis Genesis folder, Ark Genesis, and then we will make sure we save this, and it should be saved as a .bat for the update. I'll put that right there. I will go into our Ark Genesis, and then now when I run, this is my notes folder, so we'll go to Ark Genesis, we'll run the updater, And then this is the part where this does the update, and then you're going to see everything jump because I'm going to talk about the information that is in here. But while I was talking about that, we ended up having an issue with this. So provided this all works correctly, then we will pop back to where I was and editing magic. So in my case, I put it in here. This is our update.bat, and you will see this come up. Now this is going to download the files, then it's going to extract, and then it's got to do basically the install. Now this is all the base files. You're going to see when we launch it later, we'll be launching it with the Genesis name. I honestly, for this video, I may have to use the island, and then as soon as Genesis comes out, I'll show you what to change to make it Genesis. But for right now, I have to use the island because I've been constantly checking the patch notes, and they still haven't. I just checked a couple minutes ago. They still haven't released it, so I don't know what it's called. Before I get too, I don't want to get too sidetracked and out of order on you guys, but another link that I'm going to give you guys is going to be the server settings. And when you go to this website, it gives you all of your server settings stuff. And what I'm talking about is you'll see in our launcher the map name is, we're going to use the island because it's just easy to set up that way. But you got the island, the center, scorched earth, Ragnarok, aberration, extinction, Valguero. It's just we don't have Genesis yet, and notice how some of them are _p, some of them are not, some of them are single word, you know, it's just no spaces and whatnot. So I don't know what they're naming it. I don't know if they're going to call this Genesis or Genesis P or Season 1, or I don't know what they're going to call it. So I can't like just make it yet, and it hasn't released yet anyway. So even if I use that name, I probably wouldn't be able to download the files anyway because they're probably still sending them to the servers. So this is what I'm talking about. I'll have to use the island for now until I can figure out what we're calling Genesis, and I'm just keep refreshing. Eventually, at some point, they'll add the patch notes and tell us what it's called, but until then, I don't know. Let me open my notes back up. We'll let that download. While this is downloading, I'll show you the next thing is going to be our launcher. So remember how we made the batch file earlier? We're going to make another batch file, and this batch file is going to contain all of our launch information. So this is the updater running, and this is how you'll update every time you have to update your Arc server. You'll just run the update batch. It will not have to do this again. It will only have to do the update files. This is a base install, so it has to download everything. So that we're going to let run. This is the launcher. So once your Arc server has been downloaded and I guess updated, you know, set up, this is going to be your first launch right here, and this will be how you launch it every time. So again, we need to make sure we are starting in the correct directory, which I'm putting my stuff in the d-arcgenesis folder, which is where it's downloading. And you're going to see, if I go to ArcGenesis, see how all of this is in here now. All that stuff wasn't there before. This is downloading everything in there. So shooter game, binaries, this is the launcher file right here. That's now all inside of here. So shooter games, somewhere's in there. Maybe it's not downloaded yet. Still downloading. So when it launches, it will find this file. This right here, the island, this is the map name that we're going to change. So if you were using like the center, let me find it right here. So these are the map names. So if you wanted to run aberration, you would do aberration _p, and you would replace the island with that, and that would launch. When you launch the game, it would say, okay, this is an aberration map, and it would launch the aberration one. Question marks is how a lot of commands are started. So you're going to see it's hard because I've got so much code in here now. So question mark, override official difficulty. Ours is at 4, which gives us 120 for dinos. I lost my train of thought because my daughter just came in. This is the island name. Then we got, oh yeah, I was talking about the 120 dinos. So in our case, we do question mark floating text for, this gives us like when you attack dinos, you see the floating numbers. Structure prevention, which one's this one? I don't know. I set these up such a while ago. So these are mods if you want to do mods on your server. So notice the only thing I want to say about the mods is when you have multiple ones, in between the mods are the commas, but you don't end it with a comma. So make sure that you do that. That's very important, that you don't end with a comma. And these are the mods that we're using. So if you want to use these, great. If you don't, that's fine. Don't have to do it. But you know, a lot of people really like mods. My community knows that I hate mods, so we kind of meet in the middle and we do the ones that they really want, but not major game changer ones. Max players, we set ours at 25. We've never really peaked over 20. I think the most I've ever seen on the server was like 15, and this was a couple years ago, so 25 is fine. But by running your own server, you're just limited by your own hardware and internet. So these are the ports that we'll be using. You can default ports or change your ports, whatever. You'll have to figure out what you can use for your ports. I'm not going to show port forwarding and stuff like that. That's something you'll have to log into your router and you have to change your ports. Server admin password, this is how you're going to do your admin stuff in the server, so make sure you change that. We don't do permanent disease. This is raid feeding. We're a PvE server, so a lot of this is geared towards PvE stuff. Now that that's actually done downloading, I can go ahead and launch this. Again, we're going to launch this under the island, so we'll have an island server set up. If you skim through, I want to see if there's any important ones that I want to tell you guys about. Crates spawn on top of structures. We had issues in the past with drops not working or working the right way, so we added that in. Seemed to fix the problem. Spawn animations. That's just that really annoying start animation all the time. Disable weather fog. There was a while where we thought it wasn't working, then we thought maybe it was working, but we keep that one in to try to, you know, the fog was just really bad. Platform saddles. Oh, this one is one that the community definitely likes. Now notice here it's $B, allow platform saddle multi-floors. This is how you can build, do a bunch of building on top of dino. Yeah, building on like your Brontos and stuff like that. You need to have that in there. Battle line for your anti-cheat. Force allow cave flyers. This was because on the island we like to fly inside the caves. This logs all your information. That does one of these. They log all your information. That's how you can get on and see who's doing what. All of that. Auto manage mods is an important one to have. Remember these mods. This will now. Mods used to be such a pain in the butt. Now when you launch your game, it'll look at the mod numbers and it'll run this and it will automatically download your mods for you. So all you have to do is restart your server and it auto updates the mods. So that's really good. Force dino respawns. This is super helpful for when they add new dinos. Clears out the old ones and resets all the dinos. This is all of the wild dinos. It won't touch tames. But if somebody's taming and you do a save and a restart, they may lose the process of the tame since it's not a tame dino yet. So we usually check our community to make sure nobody's taming, and then we do a save, a shutdown, and then we relaunch the server to update everything. This is our cluster information, which I may blur out because I don't know how important it is. But I'm not going to show clustering on here. And then that's all that. So now that we know, so this is going to be your launcher.bat. So I'll put the information in there and let you guys copy and paste it. And you're just going to do file, save, and then you're going to, in my case, I'll do save as. It'll be a .bat. And then because it's a batch, it's going to run the script. It should now. I might pop this in while editing. I'm not sure because I'm just sitting here just watching stuff download. One thing that didn't download the first time that I did it was the shootergame folder. It did download this time. The only things that I did different will be when I explain the CMD install the first time and then running this. And then I don't know if it made a difference, but while I did this, I made sure my antivirus was off at the time. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Normally I would not recommend shutting off your antivirus, and nothing popped up when I was doing this. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think it was because I didn't install the Steam CMD the first time. But as you can see, shooter game folder is now there. So this should work when this is all done. Which I think conveniently just finished while I was talking. So perfect. So now that is there, so we've got this. This was all not there before, so that's good. So we will now go our ArcGenesis folder. I'll go to my notes, and then inside of here is the launcher, which I just got done explaining all of that. So we should, after editing, be back in order. We'll go to the Medix Arc launcher, and we will launch our server. Now the first time that this launches, we'll allow that for our firewall. The first time that this launches, this does take a while. It has to pull which map you're using. It's got to download everything. This is why on the server computer that we actually have this on, I haven't ran this yet because I don't want to install the island and then install Genesis on it and take up space on the server. So this is going to take a little while because this is now downloading the island, which is a pretty big map compared to all of them. When I was looking at all of our servers, the island was the biggest of all of them, and I don't think it's the oldest because I think we wiped that one more recently than all the others. So we'll let that download, and then when this is all done, I will come back and we will talk about it. Right after I was done saying that, I realized that the thing I was pointing at was the mods. It was downloading the mods, so depending which mods you're using will depend on your time frame. That was not the island it was downloading. It should have all the base files from earlier. I thought it had all the base stuff, but then I thought it was the island, and I confused myself. It's been a while since I've set up an Ark server, so it was the mods that were downloading. In our case, we don't have a ton of mods, so it didn't take very long for that to launch. As you can see, this is what the current version is. I was going through my messages, and looks like Ark Genesis has been pushed 4 hours, so it's going to be well after midnight for me when Genesis is up. So is what it is. Our server is just about launch. You can see it ran the command to, it's got BattleEye running. This is the server name. I'll show you how to change all of that. What else? We had the wipe wild dinos command. I think force respawn the dinos. That's super important when they add dinos and stuff, or they change spawns. It's very important to wipe the wild dinos. So I would highly recommend that. Fixed so many issues for us in the past. Just launching our servers for the wiped dinos. It does make the server take a little bit longer to launch, but it is hands down worth it because you really only have to relaunch the server when you're either having some type of weird lag issue or every time there's an update. So I would heavily recommend that being in there. For right now, we just wait. It will give us a line somewhere that says that everything is fully running. So I'll give it another couple minutes and come back. Okay, so we've had this up running for a couple of minutes. Shows full startup. Number of cores is 12. Now the first launch, from my experience, I think doesn't typically work. I think you have to relaunch it once after this. So it's up, it's running. I don't see anything. It's been a few minutes. Nothing's coming up. So I believe it's all on full. So we're going to close the server. It's now closed out. Now we're going to go back to our launcher, and we're going to launch the server, and we are relaunching it now, and we will wait for it to relaunch again. Okay, do some editing magic again. So this is up, this is running. I was trying to connect to it because I don't normally run local, and I was trying to see how the local connections were, and I realized it just wasn't working for me. What I had to do to get it to work for me on my computer in this manner was I changed my port to 47s and the query port to 27015, which were the default ones. Our server that we host all this on, we have different firewall and port management and stuff like that. My home network and my local computer, I didn't want to mess with too many settings, so I was trying to like some of my firewall stuff, and it turned out just changing these two ports made the local work. So if you're getting started, just go with these ports, and then as you learn things and change things in your port forwarding, you'll find that other ports work. Our other computer, our actual server that we're running all this on, the ports that I had mentioned earlier work fine, but they weren't working on my computer. And like I said, I want to just record the video. I'm going to set it up, and then I'm deleting everything, so I don't want to mess with too much on my computer. So those are the ports that I used. It's up, it's running, full startup. Number of cores, I've got a Ryzen 3900X, so I've got 12 cores, 24 threads. So this is now up and running, and what we will do is we will log in locally to log into the server to make sure we can actually connect, which is what I was doing a few minutes ago. So we will fast forward, and I will show you how to do that. Okay, for this I'm going to show a local connection. When you set up your server, you'll need your IP address, and you'll have to figure out how to manage that stuff after, but that's not part of this video. So I'm just going to be doing a local connection. So we'll go to Ark. At the bottom here, we just change this onto LAN, hit refresh, There we go. This is it right here. We haven't changed our name or anything like that. We're just making sure we can connect before we make any changes. So we're going to hit join. This will be our first time connecting. It should give us a player to set up. All right, we are in the server. I'm not going to set up a character at all, so we'll just create new survivor and make sure we are in. And we are in. We can move. We can see everything. There's dinos. Pick stuff up, so we know it works. So now what we're gonna do is I can't shut the server down because we are not listed as an admin. So if I try to pull this up, so if I try to do the admin cheat, do exit, it's not going to. Admin cheat, do exit, and that will not let us run the command because we are not an admin. So I will show you how to do that. So now we know that it works, we know that we're on, we can quit out, and now I will show you how to adjust some of the settings. Okay, so you can see here, this is where it logs people coming on and off. You can see that I was on, now I'm off. Now we will go ahead and we will shut off the server because now it's time to make some of our server adjustments. So inside of your folder where it's downloaded, or where it's installed, we'll go to shooter game, go to saved, we'll go to configure, we're Windows server. Now inside of the game user settings, this is where you do all of your multipliers, add your passwords, difficulty override, which we put in our launch file. But this is something that you have to sit down and take some time to go through, and there's actually even more things you can add to it. These are all the default ones. Our servers, we have a long list of things on here. All I'm going to show you real quick is we talked about the admin passwords. You can add yourself as an admin. I'll show you how to do that so you don't have to worry about using the password all the time. But I do want to change our server name. So we will scroll to, I believe it's at the bottom or very close to the bottom. Here we go, session, so arc name. So this is the default name that it gave us. We're just gonna call this medics test server. There's an option for a message of the day. I don't know if it's in here, if you have to add it, but we have a message of the day. So when you log in, a big screen pops up and it says it's a PvE community server and don't be a jerk and stuff like that. I don't see it in here, so you have to add that. You're gonna have to go onto the Arc. This website right here has all the things you can add to it, and this is like when you're setting up a server, this is something that it just takes time. You're gonna have to read all of these things, figure out which things you want to add, which things you don't want to add, what type of adjustments you want to do. This is just a base tutorial of how to set up your server, get your server running. So we changed our server name. We'll leave everything else because those are going to be things that you're going to want to adjust on your own. So we will, I just hit file and then S to save it. We can close that. The next thing is the game.ini. This is where you can add, you may see things for like certain adjustments, say add it to the game.ini file, and certain adjustments say add it to the user settings file. So these are your two, game user settings and game.ini are your two main things that you're going to be adjusting. Right now we've got nothing in ours, but our other servers have tons of information in it. So to make yourself an admin, first you need to find your 64-bit ID. So we're going to look for our profile. Here's our profile. When you click on your profile, if it doesn't show an ID number, then what you have to do is take your ID name, and then you go to the Steam ID Finder, put your name in there, get Steam ID, and the 64-bit ID is this number right here, so we will copy that. This is my secondary account, so it's got ARC, but I don't even use it. So we will save that. I just copied that and moved it into another text folder on the side, because what we have to do is we now go to back to the ARC folder. We have to go into, we're gonna go into our base install folder. We're gonna go to shooter game, and we go into saved. And then inside of here, we are going to create a new folder. sorry, not a new folder. We're going to create a new file called a text document, and this has to be called allowed cheater Steam IDs. And then inside of here, we will put our 64-bit ID. Save that, and then we will now, when we run our server, we will now be an admin. Okay, so we figured out how to get our Steam ID to make ourselves admin. Another important thing using the same method is sometimes you have to ban people. And we're going to set up a ban list. It just will be empty right now. And that is in the shooter game folder. This one is in binaries, Win64. And right now we haven't banned anyone, so there are no bans in here. As soon as you ban someone, it will create it, or we can just create our own, which will be text. We will call it ban list.txt. And again, you just put the 64-bit ID in there, hit save. And then when you relaunch the server, those people will be banned. You can ban from the admin console as well, but for whatever reason, say you need to find somebody's ID, maybe you ban them in the game, but you need to ban them over on your other servers as well. This will give you your ID list, or maybe you want to be proactive and you got a list. There are like community ban lists that you can apply as well, but that will be your ban list. So now that we've made ourselves admin and we have our ban list set up, let's relaunch the server and see if we're admins. All right, so on LAN, we can see that our name has been changed, the Medics test server. We will join. Okay, we are in, and if I do test, I have the little star next to my name, so I know that I'm admin. I can pull up the console now. We can do admin cheat, all one word, space, and then do exit, all one word. So admin cheat, space, do exit, enter, and the server should shut down. This will do an automatic save and shut down. This is one of the better ways to shut down your server. Just hit accept. So the server is now off, and it is no longer running up here, which, there we go, now we can see. It's not running anymore. It will do a save and then a shutdown. And that's the way that we shut down our servers to do our updates and whatnot. Now, sometimes if you have a mod, you won't be able to get on. So the best way to do that is to tell your community to have everyone log off and then wait a few minutes. It will, since nobody's on the server, it will do a save on its own, and then you can shut it down just by hitting the exiting the console like we were doing earlier, and then you just run your update. So we would do Medics Arc Genesis server. Now again, the update doesn't do the mods. The update does the base game files, which in this case, everything is up to date. When you launch the server, because we have our game IDs in here, and then we have it set to auto manage mods, when we launch our server, it automatically checks the mods and updates them. Again, the more mods you have, the more likely this is going to occur, and the more likely you may have a mod that ends up corrupt, and then you have to mess with those settings. I'm not able to show you how to manage those right now. Doesn't happen a ton, but inevitably it will happen. But I think that's about it. That is how you launch a server. Sometimes, again, you may have to manage some of your firewall stuff. You're going to have to do port forwarding so that people outside your network can access it, but that's things you'll have to do as a server manager, is learn how your router works for port forwarding. You may have to disable the Windows firewall. For me on the LAN, I did not have to disable my firewall. However, our server computer, we manage our firewall in a different manner, so we're not using the Windows one because we're using our own firewall manager. So I think that's about it. Hopefully it was informative, helps you get set up. The ARC was pushed even further, so I don't know what I was going to show how to set up a Genesis server, but I don't know the name of it yet. If I figure it out before this video is out, I will put it in here somewhere to tell you what to change the island to. I'll probably put it way at the beginning just so that people know, because that's probably what people are going to search more. And then the rest of this is obviously, it says the island. All you do is change the island to whatever Genesis is going to be called, and when you launch your server, it's going to launch it with that map in it. We had to do the island for this video because it's now 8:30 and there's still like 3 hours 3 or 4 hours out on the update, so I'm probably not even be able to get this server up and play till tomorrow anyway. But I'm gonna edit the video now and get this up as soon as I can, so you guys can at least see how to set up a server. I may wait just to figure out what they're calling Genesis, so I can put that somewhere in the video, because I want to call this how to set up a Genesis server. And if I don't put that in there, then it's just how to set up an Ark server. So at some point I'll do it, I guess. But hope you guys like the video. I don't know. It is what it is, and I will see you guys on the next one, I guess.